Have you ever noticed something strange? The person who loves you is easy to forget, but the person who ignores you somehow lives in your head rent-free. You replay every conversation. You overanalyze every text. You wonder what they're doing, who they're with, whether they're thinking about you, and no matter how hard you try to move on, your mind keeps dragging you back. Here's the shocking part. It may not be love at all. Your brain could be confusing rejection with obsession. And once you understand why, you'll never look at your feelings the same way again. Let's begin. Imagine this. Two people walk into your life. One gives you attention, consistency, and affection. The other sends mixed signals. Sometimes they're warm, sometimes they're distant. Sometimes they disappear completely. Strangely, it's usually the second person who becomes impossible to forget. Why? Because certainty is peaceful. Uncertainty is addictive. Your brain hates unanswered questions. When someone doesn't choose you, your mind treats it like an unfinished puzzle. Instead of accepting reality, it starts searching for clues. What did I do wrong? What if I said something different? What if they're just scared? These questions don't bring closure. They keep the emotional wound open, and every unanswered question becomes another reason to think about them. There's another reason that's even more powerful. Humans naturally value what feels difficult to obtain. Think about the last time you wanted something that was almost within reach but never quite yours. Maybe a dream job, maybe a rare opportunity, maybe someone's attention. The harder it seems to get, the more valuable it appears. Psychologists sometimes call this the scarcity effect. When something feels scarce or unavailable, our minds often assign it greater value. That doesn't necessarily mean it's better. It simply feels more important. The same thing can happen in relationships. The less available someone is, the more your imagination fills in the blanks. You don't just miss the person, you start chasing the possibility of what could have been. Now here's where it becomes dangerous. Your memory isn't a camera. It's a storyteller. Every time you think about someone, your brain edits the story. The awkward moments disappear. The arguments fade. The red flags become invisible. Only the beautiful moments remain. A smile, a laugh, a late night conversation, a single compliment. Over time, you're no longer remembering the real person. You're remembering the highlight reel your brain created. You're in love with a version that may never have truly existed. Have you ever noticed that after someone rejects you, they suddenly seem more attractive than before? That's not always because they changed. It's because rejection can change your perception. Being turned down can make the mind focus intensely on what was lost, sometimes making the person seem more significant than they objectively are. Instead of asking, "Are they right for me?" you begin asking, "How can I make them want me?" Without realizing it, your goal quietly changes. You're no longer looking for a healthy relationship. You're looking for validation. And validation is a dangerous thing to chase because it never feels complete. Even if that person suddenly gave you attention, your mind might still wonder if it'll disappear again. Social media makes this even harder. Years ago, people disappeared after a breakup. Today, they never really leave. You see their stories, their photos, their likes, their new friends. Sometimes you don't even look because you want to. You look because your thumb moves before your brain does. Each visit gives your brain a tiny burst of anticipation. Maybe you'll discover something. Maybe they'll post something that means they're thinking about you. Maybe today will be different. Most of the time, nothing changes, but the possibility keeps the cycle alive. It's like pulling the lever on a slot machine. Most pulls lead to nothing, but occasionally something interesting appears. That unpredictability is what makes it so difficult to stop checking. Here's something most people never realize. Sometimes you're not obsessed with the person. You're obsessed with the version of yourself you imagined becoming with them. You pictured the future, trips together, late night conversations, meeting each other's families, growing old. When they leave, those dreams disappear too. Your grief isn't only about losing a person. It's about losing a future that never had the chance to exist. That's why moving on feels so painful. You're mourning possibilities, not just memories. But let's go even deeper. Think back to childhood. Many psychologists have suggested that our earliest relationships can influence what feels familiar in adulthood. If affection was inconsistent, unpredictable, or difficult to earn, uncertainty can start to feel strangely familiar. As adults, some people may find themselves repeatedly drawn toward emotionally unavailable partners, not because it's healthy, but because it feels familiar. That doesn't mean everyone has this experience, and it doesn't mean it's impossible to change. Recognizing the pattern is often the first step toward breaking it. So, how do you finally stop thinking about someone who doesn't love you? The answer isn't forcing yourself to forget. The more you tell yourself, don't think about them, the more your brain notices that very thought. Instead, change the question. Stop asking, how do I make them love me? Start asking, why am I giving someone so much power over my peace? That single question changes everything, because it shifts your attention away from them and back to you. Here's a simple exercise. Take a blank sheet of paper. On one side, write who they actually were, not who you hoped they'd become. Write the facts. How often did they show up? How did they make you feel most of the time? Were they consistent? Did they communicate honestly? Then, on the other side, write who you imagined they could become. Most people are shocked by the difference. They realize they've been grieving the fantasy, not the reality. And fantasies are impossible to satisfy because they exist only in our minds. Eventually, something surprising happens. One day you'll wake up and realize they weren't the center of your story. They were just one chapter. The energy you spent chasing someone who couldn't love you can become the energy you invest in your own life, your friendships, your goals, and the people who genuinely choose to be there. Healing doesn't usually happen all at once. It happens through many small decisions, choosing not to check their profile, choosing to spend time with people who care about you, choosing to remember the whole story instead of only the best moments. Those choices add up. So if you're lying awake tonight thinking about someone who doesn't love you, remember this. You don't miss certainty. You miss possibility. You don't miss reality. You miss the story your mind kept trying to finish. And stories can be rewritten. One day, someone won't make you question your worth. They won't leave you decoding mixed signals. They won't make you wonder where you stand. Because the healthiest kind of love doesn't leave you trapped in endless confusion. It leaves you feeling safe enough that your mind can finally rest. And maybe that's the biggest lesson of all. The person you can't stop thinking about isn't always the person you're meant to be with. Sometimes they're simply the person who teaches you that love should never require you to lose yourself. If this video gave you a new perspective, share it with someone who might need to hear it. And remember, the right person won't keep you guessing. They'll make you feel chosen.